Fitness is definitely a big part of the singles game.
So Chris's 76% career record for Chris Haworth. That's an impressive impressive win record there. And I can tell you, when you're courtside, Mevish, I always tell players, like when you see, or fans who watch at home, when you see Chris Haworth like really get a hold of a ball courtside, I mean, hits a ball as hard as anybody I've seen.
He rips that thing. Beauty.
I don't know what you think, Mevish, but if Chris Haworth is on his game, I'm not sure who beats him. I don't know if he's hitting his spots. He's just such a hard out.
We see Mota here also has done well on the PPA tour with a 54% winning record.
And credit to Mota for today. I mean, he took out the 6 seed Goins, the young single superstar, and took out Adam Harvey in the round before this one. So 26 seed, made it to the quarters. That's a tremendous success, I think, for him. It's like on out calls, Mevish, like, you know, when players get into out call disputes and stuff like that, it's so hard to make these calls, even here, right? With advanced technology, with the players, you know, people who are trained, right, referees, doing their best.
Yeah. Seems like in this situation the call stood, and Chris is up 5-0.
And I think there's a difference here that is important sometimes for players to understand, which is you can have a rule confirmed, or you can also have one that basically stands. So, you know, sometimes there's just not enough information to overcome the overrule the ruling, the initial ruling, and that's, you know, that happens sometimes. Sometimes it's confirmed. Chris Haworth right now is like a train going downhill, maybe.
I think that's a great way to put it. He is ripping the ball, and he's not letting down.
If I was in Mota's corner right now, I might tell him to try and do some cat and mouse. I don't know, but trying to, like, you know, just battle it out with Chris Haworth like that is be a short afternoon, at least this match. It's the first one we've seen Chris Smith, right?
Yeah, and Mota got into the net first, so maybe that's something he can continue to try and do. Great passing shot by Chris. I don't mind how Mota played that point, though.
I agree with you. I think making him hit that ball, but that two-hander lets him hook that, right? Get that paddle around it more and really get the hook on that shot. No way you're hitting a one-handed backhand that way.
Yeah, Chris Haworth is known for that weapon of a two-handed backhand.
I actually think Chris's backhand is probably more deadly than his forehand.
I think that would be true.
And his forehand is deadly enough, I think. So. Curious thing about singles, Mevish, is you'll see players, you know, like in tournaments, names maybe you haven't heard before, advance further in singles than in doubles. What do you think about that? You know, why is that maybe an easier path for some players to make a name for themselves in pickleball on the professional level?
Yeah, no, it definitely is the case. I also think vice versa, too. Some people just do a lot better in doubles than in singles. I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is behind there. Do you have any theories there?
My working theory is that it's like you know, like singles and doubles pickleball are so. Is there a challenge again? All right, we're gonna hit the challenges. Last
right.
match, no challenges. This match,
They're
we got
making
2
up
so
for it.
far. We're gonna put the referee to work here. I'm sure which one's being challenged here. All right, Bebish, where you at on this one? Out or in?
I don't like making calls
All
on
right,
these.
I like it. I don't blame you. They're hard. But going back to the conversation we're having, I think it's, you know, when you look at, to me, when you look at pickleball, doubles and singles, the strategies are so different. They're not even playing the same sport, in my opinion. That was like a whole different activity.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you came, so we have to have an out on that one.
No free challenges remaining. Resume play at 1-8.
And Mota starting at 1-8. But the, you know, so like if you came from a tennis background, right, a good high-level tennis background, you know, college or something like that, I think you could, like 6 or 8 months, you could be playing at least competitively in singles. Whereas doubles, I think, is just it's a higher learning curve to figure that game out. And the skills don't translate as easily. So that's my working theory.
I think it's a good one. Makes sense to me. 2-8.
2-8.
Let's see if Mota can build some momentum here.
3-8.
Pickleball definitely a game of momentum, right? So if you can find the momentum and keep it. That's a nice rally.
Great play there.
Opened him up to one side with the drop, right? Oh, pulled him over and then opened the court for the pass. Wow.
And he is building that momentum.
Point of the match, I think, Mebish there, right? I mean, that was just well executed by Mota. Moved in properly, did some nice defense, and set himself up for that that shot. Great rally.
We're at 5-8.
We were at 1-8 when the challenge, right? Now we're at big
Closing
run.
that gap. A little
Nice.
wide there.
Nice patience, right? By Mota.
Both players stayed back.
Smart timeout. Big run from Mota from 1-8 to 6-8. So
Chris Haworth versus Mota Alhouni. Close first game. Chris is up 8-6 after having been up 8-1. So Mota has got some really good momentum that he's continuing after the timeout.
yeah, Chris looked like a train going downhill at the beginning, and Mota's been able to stop the momentum and make his own run. So that's still a really big run. I think he scored, I think it was 6 points in a row on his serve, which is in singles is the world. So we'll see if Chris can stem the tide of this. I still like that rally, Mebish, by Mota. I think, you know, he forced Chris to hit a really big shot to beat him, as opposed to earlier where it was just simpler shots were getting Chris out of it. So. Chris thought he had 10, I think, there. Good point by Chris. I still think Mota played that really well as, again. So. See if Chris can close it out. That's a beautiful shot.
Full roll to end it and close out game 1, which goes to Chris Haworth. And we are going to commercial break. Stay tuned for game 2. Very impressive and
That's
very high.
Catherine Parental level of winning after winning the first game. Because then he can win the second game 90% of the time and thereby win the match. There we go. All right, let's see if Mota might be able to build something on, he made a nice run there, towards the end of game 1. See how he comes out in game 2. That's the way Mota wants to play. I think he has a good chance if he plays at that level.
Yeah, and he was definitely figuring out the first game, but it was just maybe a little bit too late since he had that big deficit. But now he's up 2-0.
Let's see, I think we're going to video challenge this quick. There we go, here we go. Video challenge coming. All right.
Challenge of the out call.
I'm usually not a fan of the early video challenges like this, but here I like it because of the momentum.
Refs say call stands.
One thing I've noticed, Mevish, is that when there's a timeout, Mota appears to have a coach. Somebody's coming out to the bench to chat with him. We're seeing more of that in the pro game, I think, and I think we're going to see more as the game continues to evolve. I just think, as a coach myself speaking, obviously I'm partial in this, but I think a coach gives you like some perspective potentially, slows you down a little bit, shows you something you're not seeing. It's so hard to see when you're playing the game, right? Like you're inside the barrel. So, I think we'll see more of that as the game progresses.
Definitely think there's a lot of value in having a coach out there in more ways than one. All right, and let's see Mota's record for winning the match after losing the first game. It is 28%, so not looking in his favor, but he's up 2-1. Anything can happen.
All right, Mevish, I'm going to push back a little bit if I can. 30%.
You're allowed.
After winning game 1, I think it's okay. Because like the overall record, I don't know if the folks upstairs know the numbers, but like what the running record is for winning a match after you lose the first game. But I got to think it's somewhere like in the 20 to 25%. So
that's fair.
Mota's probably a little bit above.
Would be an interesting stat to know, though.
I agree. I don't expect Mota to lay down in this match, though. You know what I mean? Like, can happen sometimes. You lose the first game against a player like Haworth, right? And it feels like it's over. And I don't expect Mota to do that. I expect Mota to fight till the last rally.
Oh, that backhand roll. Chris just got it down.
What do you think of that? So I've seen a lot of that too. In the last match we were talking about those cut serves. I'm seeing a lot more of the high backhand volley, like kind of like chopping it, like trying to hit a drop shot. But at least what I've seen, I have not seen it have a lot of success. As opposed to more like a roll volley or a deeper volley, just putting it away. I'm gonna keep an eye out for that because I just don't. I'm not seeing that be successful on that just little cut. Everybody seems to read it and then they're on the ball right away. Attacking you from nearby. So. That's too easy. Right, short return, come in.
Yeah.
Not against a player like Chris Haworth. The short return there just opens up that easy passing lane.
Chris Haworth is someone that definitely makes you hit good shots. Otherwise, you're going to get punished.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, maybe in that last match. You know, sometimes, especially in singles, you got to take a little more chance on the return. You might hit a few more out on singles than you want to, but short returns, especially at this level of play, short returns almost like a missed return anyway. So. Good timeout by Mota there. I thought Mota had a surprise. See, Chris only has one so far, but I think it'll be more in the future. Be my guess if I was a betting man. Which we've already established I'm not Mevish. I'm not a betting man.
Could become one.
Maybe.
5 minutes. 5-2.
You see Mota's hitting a lot in the middle here, right? Just to take away some angles from Chris. I think Mota's got to do something to solve the puzzle, right? Just can't stand back there and probably hammer balls with Chris Haworth. Chris Haworth's like drilling in college now. He just hit balls.
Wow.
That's a great passing shot, but I still like that rally better. What do you think?
Yeah,
I think Mota built it better
I
there.
agree. Again, made Chris hit like a very good shot.
Which, as we talked about earlier, if Chris hits his spots, it's really, really tough to beat him. Almost laser accurate on those passing shots. I think Chris thought it was out, but that's a good decision by Chris to correct the call. Or not make the call, I guess. Anyway. Surprised Mota didn't come out on the one before, but it worked out.
See if Mota can make a comeback like he did in the first game. Beauty.
Yep. That control, right, to be able to move forward, nice controlled short backswing and just flip it over. Great shot. And Mevish, we were talking about this in the last game we did earlier today, but you know, I mean, this is like singles. You see longer runs than you do in doubles anyway. So you can get on a hot streak and score, you know, 5, 6, 7 points in singles. Doubles much harder to do, but in singles you see it more often. So. Mota still has a chance. I thought they had like rolled out a new scoreboard because I'm seeing on the screen it looks like it's all rolling and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
But in live it's not. So I like the one on the TV better. Chris, the ball's going like 3 feet out there. I don't know, does Mota still have a timeout, you think, or did he use it? I know he did the video challenge.
I'm not sure if he has one left. I feel like he would have taken it if he did.
Yeah, I would hope he would, yeah, for sure.
Game point. That is match for the number 4 seed, Chris Haworth.